BTC has just pinged 97K. We've finally broken that major resistance. But guys, can we trust this breakout? Are they going to come down for us and try and end us again? So we're going through BTC. I'm going to give you a trading plan. And then obviously with this breakout on BTC, we've seen tons of altcoins breaking out. And I've just had a go at an ETH long as well, which I'm going to cover for you guys in detail. Okay, we've got so much to talk about here. I'm still in Dubai. Okay, let's get going. And remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. We do have James in the house and bringing some great backup today because I've had a bit of a busy couple of days in Dubai, and he's going to help us with a bit of the news things. He's going to explain why some of these AI agents are also pumping, and we're going to look at a couple of those things. And anybody that feels they missed some of the gaming rally as well, we're hitting some big zones on some of these gaming tokens. So I've got BMEX for you guys as well that we are going to cover. So look, all over looking good. Virtual's absolute ripper. I see Injective's up 10% today. Is it time to look at that one? I've got detailed charts for you on Injective as well. I'm going to give you a trade setup there. And then everything overall looking good after a brief sell-off yesterday. It was almost like they pushed it down, but they reversed it so quickly and trapped a lot of people, I think, on some bearish plays yesterday. So we're going to look at some of those tokens that bounced as well yesterday. Let's get into BTC and let's start with a smaller time frame. This is the one that we were waiting for. We've been watching this major resistance band for quite some time now, and I think James, we broke in here 23rd of April. We've been sitting in that range, and we've been saying it's either going to be a big break to the upside, it's either going to be a big break to the downside, and they actually dropped it down. They flushed out all those longs yesterday, and then they pumped it higher up. I'm quite surprised they didn't send BTC too much deeper, but what we did cover yesterday, I said to you guys, there's this liquidity zone at 96K, and I was expecting them to come back and grab all of that stuff at some point. It was looking super juicy. So now you can see we have actually cleaned out that liquidity band. Look at that. They've cleaned that out now. We've got a little bit more to the upside. So let's tie that in now to BTC and just see what the game plan is. So a typical move on these altcoins when we start popping big zones is what you want to see. You want to see that nice breakout. And then if the bulls are going to come into play and it's a real breakout where they're actually going to be buyers, they need to step in, ideally on that 382, worst case on that 618 to send it higher. So far we have locked in that breakout. Let's just adjust our retest zones now because this thing has now moved slightly further than what we had earlier. So we're dragging our fibs from the lows to the highs, and we want to just identify our first line of big support. So for me, in terms of bullish support, guys, if this thing is going to hold 95,600, watch that region. That's going to be a beautiful retest if they come there. And then this is also absolute banger, 94,500. Both of those zones make a lot of sense to me there in terms of BTC if they do send it down. You can see the 2 hour now showing as a reversal sign, and when we have seen reversal signs before, just little moves to the downside. So that is the bull zone, guys. That is where you're looking for longs if there are any dips and things like that, and that is where you can look for longs on some of the altcoins with confidence as well until we start losing those key areas. Now, in terms of where can BTC go, well, the big one, and I don't want to get too excited beyond 98.5 to this 100K zone. This is a major horizontal for us, and that is, that's what I'm locking in now for the next 24 hours. If it is going to move, I want to see what happens up there before we make our next plan. So ideally, what we want to do is if we do push higher, we want to see some kind of consolidation here, some kind of flag on BTC under this major resistance, and that is going to start firing off those altcoins again. So we're going to get another run on some of those altcoins. You're going to see things like Link start breaking through those big horizontals. You're going to see these alts start printing new highs as well, and then things are going to get nice and spicy there. And Tindo says juicy Dubai entries. Guys, I'm working on it. I've got a little bit of FOMO, and because I've obviously haven't been able to trade as much as I normally like to because we're running around, and I see these AI agents are absolutely ripping, and it's gutting me that I've missed some of those pumps. But luckily, the guys in Hackers have been covering a couple of them for the Hackers members at least. So at least we do have a little bit of cover there. Now, in terms of where we are at the moment, I want to show you guys this. Bitcoin breaks and holds above 95K. This was earlier today. If Bitcoin breaks and holds above 95,800, Ali chart says, based on the MVRV pricing bands, the target is $114,000. Okay, so I'm just dropping that there. Okay, that is more for our higher time frame BTC chart that we can look at. But right now, just in terms of what you've seen on that 2-hour chart and then moving back into the 3-day chart, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, let's start with 98 to 100K. You can see here I've marked a danger zone. That's a big area for me. We want to see what happens there. We're not going to start talking 114 and things like that. I'm not going to allow it, okay, until we start breaking some other big levels. Okay, guys. And then look, when crypto goes too well for 3 days, I think this is actually a picture of James. He's very skeptical with things at the moment. And I must say, when I see a breakout on BTC, I also get a bit edgy. I mean, how does this make you feel?
Too much bull posting out there. I told you that. I'm seeing on Twitter, everybody saying, I told you, idiots, alt season's here. Oh, shit, sell everything.
Okay, well, he's still bullish. He's still a little bit bullish. And then, yeah, I mean, look, this is the general sentiment at the moment with what is going on with crypto. But anyway, nonetheless, let's not digress. Now, you guys might have noticed the S&P is looking a little bit more bullish, and there's little sprinkles of news coming out in terms of tariffs, in terms of other things. But Hassett says tariff news expected by the end of the day. So the market perhaps starting to price a couple of things in. They're starting to ramp up the S&P, and crypto seems to be following. What else do we have here? We've got US reaching out to China for tariff discussions. Sure. What's the news on this shit? Is this a thing, James? Is this real?
Well, you know what? There was yesterday, I saw that 𝗘𝗆𝗄𝐵𝐶 letter. They reported that Trump apparently contacted China about a deal. And then that was China that had reported it. And then 3 hours later, Trump came out and said, no, I didn't contact anyone. This whole, we're going to drop the news, take it away 3 hours later, back and forth. It's just like the news has been all the way along, right?
Check this comment here.
Gordon there was that minerals deal that was signed, right?
Oh, yeah, I see 𝗬𝗰𝗵𝗵.
Yeah. And so that's a big reason why that's coming.
So look, that's exciting, but I mean, it's probably a long-term situation. But yeah, I mean, it's something worth a pump. And I see Altcoin Gordon says USA just want peace and fairness. Sure, okay, let's go. S&P. So guys, this is my danger zone. Okay, this is where I'm actually concerned. This is the short zone for the S&P that I've been talking about for a while. And for me, this is an area where we start saying we got to start being careful. So I want my RSI to load here so I can show you guys exactly what is going on. But right now you can see I've got my 618, I've got my 200-day, I've got my horizontal. For me, we're getting a reversal in that zone. Okay, so I'm going to start looking to short this thing on BTC, BTCC, and we're going to start building something here. I've got that 200-day moving average. We know how important the 200-day moving average is in the market. If we close above that, well, then the S&P for me is turning super bullish again, and I'm going to cut this thing. But if we close underneath the 200-day MA, for me, it looks pretty bearish, and then we're going to start sending this one down. So we are now approaching my short zone. This is the hot zone, okay, and this is where things need to happen. Yob says the Fed is incoming, maybe with a little bit of action. Let's go. We've also had some good earnings. Microsoft, obviously one of the big seven, Magnificent Seven, pushing up the S&P as well because they've had some good earnings results coming out. We saw they gapped up today. Look at this banger. Okay, absolutely gapped up here. And this, obviously, I wish I caught this trade. This is the fresh trade for you guys that I want to see play out now. Now, what typically happens is when you get great earnings like that, you get these banger gaps to the upside or to the downside if it's bad earnings, and then you often get a retracement and everything settles down, and then you get the real move. So what I like about Microsoft, any Microsoft traders out there, you want to trade this with me on BTCC, you can see we've got a massive gap now. Could be coming to get filled. Okay, so what I would love to see, just some kind of settlement here, and then we get a nice bullish move on Microsoft. So for me, there's no longs here. You can't long, well, you could recklessly long it, but for me, if you start longing up here, you're getting yourself in trouble. So in terms of a safe play for me on Microsoft, 396 down to say 380 makes a lot of sense to me. We'll let this thing settle down. We know the earnings are good. They're going to maybe reprice a couple of things on this. So yeah, looking good on Microsoft. Going to have a go on BTCC when we do get there. And in terms of my current short on Google, still holding that. Okay, so we're still under the big area on Google and no changes to that short for me. I'm just letting that one play out currently. Now, you guys saw a couple of AI tokens pumping, AI agents pumping, things like that. Does it have to do with the Nvidia story? Now, Nvidia is saying to add an undisclosed amount of BTC to their balance sheet for stability. But there's actually more news on Nvidia at the moment. James, what's the TLDR on this? What's happening with Trump and Nvidia?
Well, that's it. Looks like he's loosening the restrictions, because I'm sure Nvidia's gone to him and said, whoa, you can't have all these restrictions on us. You've already cut China. That we're not allowed to sell these chips over there. You've got to loosen it up. So he's weighing it, is what they're saying. Hasn't guaranteed it's going to happen, but he's got a visit coming up. And yeah, it looks like they're going to open up the market for them there a little bit. So bullish for Nvidia, which is bullish for AI.
Yeah. So guys, remember the rules, okay? Nvidia is ripping. You look at AI tokens, you look at AI agents specifically. Those are basically the memes of the AI narrative. So, those things are absolutely flying. And I think one or two might be teeing up for a short if I have to be completely honest with what I'm looking at the moment. So we're going to get those out. And then in terms of Nvidia, lots of work to do. We know the DeepSeek competition in China. We know things have changed a little bit fundamentally on Nvidia. Obviously, the tariff situation hasn't helped them. So if that gets, sorted out, then we should be okay. But in terms of where Nvidia is at the moment, look at the S&P also under big levels there. So I'm not expecting too much out of Nvidia, unless we break above that 200-day moving average. So 120 for me on Nvidia, 125, big danger zone there. You can see we've got a descending trend as well. Be careful up there, okay? That's a possible short zone and could tie in very nicely with that S&P as well, just rolling over a bit. Okay, we don't have to be super bearish, but in terms of rejection zones, that is what we want to be looking at. Okay, let's get into some of the spice. I've got so much here. I met Fahad last night. Fahad, you legend, bro. And he came to the banter event. So, guys, we had a very successful banter 1% event last night. And I just want to say shout out to the community that came to say hello to us. And I mean, it was such an amazing evening and to meet all of you. And Fahad was there. Okay, this man, I've never seen his face. He always hides behind this picture. And he came up and he found me last night. And then I met so many chart hackers that had come for the event as well. And it was good to meet you guys. And I dished out, 20, 30 shirts like this, okay, to all the hackers there. And looking forward to seeing those new ones. And you guys know who you are. Claire, Miranda was there. I want to see you guys in my accelerator course as well. That is going to be an absolute banger. So Fahad, nice to have you here, bro. Okay, let's get into the juice. Yeah, let's go. What do we got? Okay, so here's an ETH breakout trade. I dropped in hackers just before the show. Remember, guys, the advantage of being in hackers is, sometimes you get a little bit of an early bird situation from me. Obviously, if the trade doesn't work, well, then it's great. But if the trade does work, it's really fucking handy for you guys. And I dropped this before I went live there on the show, this little ETH setup that I was taking. And we're going to see how this plays out now with BTC. So let's go. Let's talk about these altcoins. This is the one that I've been tracking a lot, okay, over the last couple of days. And this is our 4-hour RSI heat map. And you can see a lot of the 4 hours are still in the middle. It's not super convincing just yet. Remember, the big moves for me normally come when we heavily oversold or heavily overbought to the upside. So right now we are floating around the middle, and now we are in that phase where we're playing breakouts, and that is why, I keep wanting to pull that out, okay? Because we're playing little breakouts in some of these altcoins, and you keep having to, look behind your back, or is that light at the end of the tunnel, a freight train coming at us? So, trying to be a little bit cautious with how we are doing things. But overall, that is, look, it's okay. Okay, sitting in the middle there. In terms of dominance on the weekly, still at major resistance. This is what's potentially helping these alts a little bit at the moment. Little recovery here, but you can see, I spoke about this yesterday, a big move to the upside here. If that is with a BTC pump, we're all happy. Okay, if that move comes with BTC falling over, well, a lot of the work on the altcoins that we're looking at is going to be a bit of a problem. PMD George says the Dixie is going up. Why is the Dixie going up here, James?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, just James is going to find out what is going on, and he's going to find out if there's fresh news coming out there. Okay. Let's go. Why am I looking at ETH? Well, let's go back to BTC. We saw earlier today, BTC broke a major horizontal level, and we've been tracking ETH for a couple of days. And finally, ETH has stuck its head out of a major horizontal level. Is this the move? Is ETH still a thing? Well, guys, that's a question you need to ask yourself. Maybe I just like being abused by ETH so much that I had another crack at this thing. So you can see it's stuck its head out. It's a very simple breakout trade that I'm looking at here. I'm not looking to stick around for very long. My exit plan is 1813. So if we lose that, we start closing under 1813, I'm going to be done with this ETH long. And I was looking for a little scalp, 1952, and we're looking at 2000 and call it 2080. as potential ETH targets. But the real move here, obviously, is it's about the other altcoins that will really start popping off and getting aggressive. So always nice to see ETH trying to break something, and that is always a good signal for the rest of the altcoin market. Okay, so we're jumping into Bank now. Congrats to everybody who completed the Bank competition. I finished second, but obviously, guys, whoever finishes behind me, you're going to get my prize. Excuse me. I'm obviously not keeping the cash prize, so it's just going to go to whoever finished below me. And Chaos had a strong finish as well. I think he did quite well. And congrats. Was it 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 that won on his whiff trade, James? Do you know? I think it was. Was it Paul? Okay, we don't know yet. Guys, if you are in hackers, tag me, okay? The guy that finished first here, LB442, 191%, who beat me by 0.4% here, or 0.5%. Tag me in hackers. I want to know who this man is. Okay, I need to meet this person. Okay, and let's talk what's going on in Bank. So I've cleaned out my Bank account. I had a really successful couple of weeks, and I've reset the whole thing. I've taken all those profits out, and I've left a little bit of a burner position in here, and we're going to start building this one again. We're going to see if we can grow this again using my hedging play. We're going long, we're going short, but normally to start the hedging strategy, you need a banger long to really get things going. So I'm just hunting that banger long at the moment. If it does materialize, then we can start playing the hedge shorts games. Okay, and in terms of what I've got, here's that ETH breakout play that we got running at the moment. I've got 𝗏𝗏 from yesterday as well, been adding to that a little bit, and I'm sitting in a peppy position in case we're going to pop this right shoulder. It's all going to come down to, you know, if this market is going to fake us out or that it's actually going to be a real pump. And if Peppy is going to work, well, guys, you know what I like. If ETH starts breaking out, I love to trade a bit of Peppy with that as well. And so sitting in here patiently, I'm 20,000 long on Peppy. Let's see if we're going to get a little bit of action. So before we jump into Peppy, let's talk 𝗏𝗏. And yesterday I gave you guys a couple of levels. Now, there were a lot of levels that I was watching yesterday where we had secondary zones to the downside. Those were the bangers. Those were the ones that I wanted to see those 4-hour resets. And then there were the interim levels, like we had Link yesterday, we had 𝗏𝗏, we had a couple of other tokens sitting on zones, including ETH. And we were saying, look, we're looking for this thing to have a short-term bounce on this area. We've now bounced, okay, on those zones. This is the real test now. Is this short-term bounce, real, or is it just simply part of this downtrend? So just to re-explain what I was talking about yesterday, these bounces on these zones, typically what you get is you drop on these zones and then you print the lower high and you start making your way down, and you typically get something like that on these altcoins. So it's interesting to me to see that 𝗏𝗏 reversed, on an interim level, and now we got to see if we can really start pushing a little bit harder. So in terms of what you want to see for 𝗏𝗏, if you are in a 𝗏𝗏 position, you hopefully got it somewhere in that region there yesterday. That would have made sense to me. Now, what do you do if you're hunting something? Well, you can see 𝗏𝗏 is sitting at a resistance band, and there's two main areas that we need to watch at the moment. So your first resistance band is 153. You can see this is a problem zone for 𝗏𝗏. So we need to break through there, and we need to break through there relatively quickly, because otherwise this thing's going to run out of momentum and we're going to start heading a little bit lower down. Okay, so 153 is the first important zone for me. We want to pop this area, most likely reject on the 100-day moving average, most likely reject on that wick, and then the real test once again, guys, is that retest, hopefully on the 382, and that for me is going to be an add zone on the 𝗏𝗏 trade. So let me just show you this picture there. Let's bang out our 382. There it is. Okay, so we want to see, let's just get that up. You want to see something like that retest. You want to see that thing hold, okay, down into that 382 for us, and that's going to be about 148.6. Okay, so we can play this trade a couple of ways. And in terms of 𝗏𝗏, if we drop back down, so I want to see that pop, and then if we drop back down to that 148.6, I'm going to add more to the 𝗏𝗏 position, and then I'm simply going to bang my stop underneath that region. Okay, so looking for a drop into the zone and a bounce, and then I'm going to put my stop under that zone wherever that bounce is. Okay, and then we're going to look to send that one a little bit higher. Okay, but first step, let's break 153. Second step, let's tap that 158 zone, 158.7, get that rejection, and let's see if we get a little bit more action on 𝗏𝗏. And then in terms of next targets, 161 makes sense to me, and then we've got the big one, 179, 180 to the upside. Now, not looking that far ahead at the moment, just want to get a little bit of momentum, and let's see how it plays out. Remember, you don't want to look too far ahead, okay? We want to just plan in front of us, manage our risk in the immediate in the immediate situation. Okay, so Sol, you've got the plan. Remember, all these tokens and all these charts go straight into Chart Hackers directly after the show for you guys. It's going to be there. And then Chart Hackers members, don't forget, I'm back this coming weekend, and normal affairs will be continuing for you guys. I know I've been a little bit all over the place running around here, and my normal daily updates and everything will start coming out for you guys again as soon as probably Sunday. It's going to start happening for you guys. Now, let's cover 𝗵𝗵. This is the one I highlighted yesterday, that head and shoulders, and I gave you guys a long zone. So now we still haven't hit our long zone on 𝗵𝗵. This was the first of two big zones that I had interest in. Now, with the development of ETH and with the break of BTC, I'm starting to look at 𝗵𝗵 a little bit differently now. So we've had situations before where these things lag a little bit, and then all of a sudden they come out and they explode once there is momentum on something like ETH. So 𝗵𝗵, I'm super interested in at the moment, and you can see this right shoulder is the secret. This is all we need to focus on at the moment. So in terms of how we want this to play out, we can see ETH is sitting, 𝗵𝗵 is sitting at 915. That is our resistance zone. We simply want to see a pop to the upside, most likely a rejection at that wick, and then we're going to retest that trend, and that is the bull case. It's as simple as that. You want to keep it as basic as possible here for you guys. Don't complicate matters. So you can see I've started a position on 𝗵𝗵. As we start breaking higher, I'm going to add more, okay? And then as we start dropping back down, or if we do start dropping back down, I'm going to be adding more in that zone for 𝗵𝗵. So just to confirm the numbers here, I'm in 𝗵𝗵 at the moment, and what I can use as an exit plan for me is the 100-day MA and trend, 8724. So if you close under 8724, that could be bearish, or alternatively, you can use yesterday's low at 8423. Now, that would be a little bit deep for me, and I'll probably start trimming this thing if we start losing that trend, because this is a bit of a degen play that I'm taking on here. And you can see we've got a rising trend. So if we start losing that rising trend, that's not necessarily something I want to be involved in, and it could be turning a little bit bearish. Okay, so to confirm the levels here, 8719 and 8423 are exit zones you can use for 𝗵𝗵. If it breaks this 918 region, if it starts breaking that, I'm going to add a little bit to my 𝗵𝗵. If it pulls back, I'm going to add a little bit more around about this 91 region, and then we are going to be looking for higher targets, okay? And number one, you're going to start with a wick high, 978, and then you can see here in terms of this chart, all you want to do is just highlight a couple of wicks to the upside there, bang, over there, and that's 105. So play with those areas for now, and if we get a little bit more momentum, we'll obviously deal with it tomorrow in more detail, and I'll show you guys how I am playing it accordingly. But right now, you lose the rising trend. I'm cutting this thing. I don't want to hang around too long. This is purely a degen momentum play. Okay, so play it accordingly. And PMG George is not good to be over bearish nor over bullish, so he's bullish. Okay, I mean, James, you've got something going here. Bullish, okay?
That's the best way to be in this market. You've got to be able to pivot quickly depending on the news. The news controls our market at the moment.
This is
like
me.
Crazy. Yeah.
This is me. This is me. Okay, and guys, something else that's me, guys. I've launched my store. Okay, if you guys want these banger shirts, okay, yeah, go to there's a link in the show description. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 But you can look at the disgusting, you can get a banger, and you can get, there's a menu here for you guys. Okay, so if you want a piece of the action, okay, and if you use my name, Dylan, in the discount code, you're going to get a 10% discount on the stuff. Okay, so if you want to be a hacker wannabe with some cool phrases on the shirts, get involved. James, how many do you want, sir? How many am I sending you?
Beard oil incoming too.
Beard oil is coming, but it's a secret. Look at the secret.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Smooth as a kitty. Isn't that what it says on the box?
We're working on a couple of things for you guys. Okay, it's coming in hot. Okay, so guys, you've got the Peppy plan. Something I haven't spoken about in a while is something like Injective. Now, I've obviously in the last couple of weeks been super focused. I've had some very big positions on Near, on Link, on Peppy. I had a whole lot of trades, and obviously out of interest, I was focusing on all of those for you. Now we've got fresh opportunities, obviously, and Injective is one of the ones I haven't spoken about in a while, and I thought it's time. to take a look here. So Injective is the second largest blockchain by DApp-related transactions during the month of April, in arm's reach of Sol. Okay, now I still don't understand how this shit works. I'm a shitcoin trader, and maybe it's bots or whatever the story is, but they're pumping up their numbers. Okay, so whatever. If they're pumping up their numbers, that's good, and maybe the market likes the current situation. So first thing I like to do, zoom out. Let's look at a higher time frame chart on Injective. Let's see in the grand scheme of things, where are we? And reminder, Injective, like all these other altcoins, bullish divergence on the 3-day, and we still have quite a long way to go in terms of how far this 3-day could travel to the upside. So there is potentially a strong move on these alts still. There is potentially more in the tank for them. Obviously, we need to just watch the macro situation. We need to see what Donald is up to as well, with all these tweets and all these things. But in terms of the charts, purely the 3-day does say some of these alts should be grinding higher. Now, the first interesting thing for me is an inverse head and shoulders potentially here on Injective. And I want to highlight again how important this is. That 50-day moving average retest that I was talking about for the last couple of weeks, saying this 50-day is so important. When we break it, the alts pop off it. And the real test is when they come back and retest that 50-day MA. And so many have come back, tested that 50, and now they are pushing on again. So in terms of bullish setups for Injective, on the 3-day targets, 11.2 makes sense to me. Then I've got 14, and then I've got 16 as potential upside targets. Now, we're going to have a lot of things, a lot of the cards fall in our favor here in terms of macro and tariffs and announcements, but that is obviously on the table for Injective. Not going to look much further than that, because even at 16, Injective is pretty bearish. Look at that. I'm zooming out for you guys. Look at that. How bearish is that situation? Rising trend. We've lost the rising trend. If this was a 5-minute chart, what happens? Drop to the low, pump back to the trend, and then sell it and send it to zero. So not getting super bullish on Injective, but we can see that there is a little bit of upside in play. So what I've done for you now is broken this into a Degen setup for you guys, just to show you how you can actually try and get an entry, especially the leverage traders out there. I want you guys to see how to try and do this very safely. So the first thing I want to highlight for you guys is, once again, we've got a rising trend in play, and that 50-day MA. So in terms of retesting good zones, if you were watching this chart yesterday, and I unfortunately wasn't, but it's just dropped into a typical hot zone for us. We've got horizontals, we've got rising trend, we've got a 50-day MA. We had, look at this divergence. I mean, this is the dream stuff that I look for. I mean, this is an absolute thing of beauty. You're dropping into a hot zone, you're printing divergence. It's like a money printer. Okay, so you watch those areas and you play those types of reversals. Now, how do we get our next entry, or what is the game plan for Injective? So as you can see, in terms of keeping it super simple here, we've actually broken a trend, okay? And we are now fighting a horizontal zone. So for me, there's a couple of options here, and it's hard to tell exactly what the game plan is. We can only just react off certain areas. So right now, ideally, we get some kind of flag here at this resistance, and then we get a pop out of Injective, okay? So that would be my first prize, and then we're going to look for an erection. We're going to look for a rejection at 11.1, and then some kind of sell-off here into the downside. I don't know why. Okay, so that 11.1 is obviously the first big target of interest for us. 11.1 you're going to be watching. And then in terms of Injective right now, if it does start pulling down a little bit, doesn't necessarily mean that it's bearish. Remember the context of these altcoins now. Look at BTC. BTC's broken a trend. So if Bitcoin drops back down, it's going to drop back down onto support. So you should be allowed to start looking for some bullish pullbacks on Injective. So this thing is sitting at resistance, and we're just looking for this dip back down. And that is perfectly healthy for us if we do get that. And then that will take us to that 11.1. So in terms of two options for you, your first zone of support, you can play with Degens. 10, call it 10, okay? Your next zone of support, 9.7. If you lose and close under 9.7, for me, I wouldn't be hanging around too much, okay? That it starts turning a little bit ugly, especially for the leverage traders. So in terms of bullish ideas, 10 and 9.7 is what you guys are going to be watching. That's first prize. Look out for a rejection at 11.1, and then a little bit higher, I've got a really nice zone for you up here at around 12.8 that you're going to be watching. We've got VWAPs, we've got the 618, we've got horizontals in play. So this whole region, including that 100-day MA, this whole region for me is a TP zone. It's a danger zone, especially for the Degen, leverage traders. Okay, I want you guys to pay attention to those areas. Obviously, if you're trading lower leverage or you're trading spot, you can try and hold on for those bigger moves. But in terms of the Degen stuff, guys, watch out at that 12.8 on Injective, and your key support 10, 9.7, and then you've obviously got the 50 at 9. Okay, so we know that 50 is now your first marker as your main big support. You guys are teasing me. They all teasing me here, James. Come on, I've had a couple of late nights, guys. Come on, give me a break. Okay, let's go. Let's talk 𝗏 at the moment. 𝗏 is the most sold token by smart money in the last 24 hours. Now, I hardly talk about 𝗏 these days, but we do know if the Sol ecosystem is ripping, 𝗏 is essentially link for Solana, and it is one of those that could be a potential mover. So all I did for 𝗏 was bang out the hot zone indicator, and you can see this thing's reacted off a hot zone. Look at that. I got a bull sign and I got a flame in my hot zone indicator. At the same time, we got the double print there on our oscillator as well. So 𝗏 reacting very nicely, and a reminder again, look at this thing. All these altcoins actually behaved the same. They gave us a 50-day moving average retest yesterday. Look at that, 382, 50-day MA, rising trend, horizontal. TA does not need to be complicated at all. Okay, and that is why I developed the accelerator course for you guys, because we don't need to complicate things. All I did here was pull a fib, look at some horizontals, slap on a moving average, and bang out a trend, guys. Okay, and what do? We get an erection on that region. Come on, guys, this is terrible. We get a reaction on those levels, okay? And keeping it super simple. So guys, remember, my accelerator course is in the show description for you guys. Just go under the show, click on more. Everything I talk about is under the show description. So just go through there. You'll find the accelerator course. You'll find chart hackers. You'll find everything there for you guys. And I've made it really easy to understand and to how to build these hot zones for yourself and take advantage and make money off these areas. Now, what do we do next? What are the targets for 𝗏? Where can this thing go? So we keep it super simple again, and we just want to look at some hot zones to the upside. We want to look at some targets that this thing could potentially go to. And obviously, the first thing you always focus on is the previous high. So you can see right now, 𝗏 at the moment is in a downtrend. So we're not allowed to get super bullish. You can see we are in a downtrend, and this could, effectively carry on until this thing goes to zero. But what we do is we play these trends until they break. And when they break the trends, you typically create a new trend that you can start working with. So golden entry, guys, was obviously 144. What is the next play? We need to see if this thing is going to break this trend. If it's going to break this trend, all you need to do is start looking for some bullish pullback support. And what I need you guys to do for 𝗏 is let this thing break first, okay? If there is going to be a move in the market, it's typically going to just break this trend, and then you're going to reject at a horizontal, and that is going to give you the banger. Okay, so just, guys, this is going to be a simple breakout retest trade that you're going to be looking for, and you're just going to look for a nice 13 to 14% upside move on this 𝗏. But step one, let's break that trend. Let's get that quick retest. You might have to look at the 15 minutes. You might have to look at the 1 hour just for that retest, and then this thing could potentially start pushing for you guys. Now, in terms of existing supports that you can use, you're looking at 0.15. You can start watching that one for now as your first line of Degen support. And just like we covered on Injective, you can see we've got a rising trend. If we start closing under the trend, I would start being cautious. Okay, I would not stick around too much if you start closing under these trends. Matt says he's liking Injective at the moment. Guys, look, this thing can move. We know Injective has a history. We've just got to time it right. It's very bullish for me, even short term on some of these alts, that Bitcoin has broken the trend. If it pulls back and these bulls actually step in on that horizontal retest, I think these alts could actually start ripping a little bit for us. So just play it safe. Don't get yourself rinsed trying to be too early. So just go small, wait for the right moves here and get it to drop on these zones. And then you guys should be okay. Now, Pyth, you've got the game plan. Upside targets, guys, 16, 162, 168, 176. Those are your upside targets on Pyth. Support 1.5, and you close under that trend 1.45. I would be careful. I would be careful under there. Now, in terms of AI agents, Nvidia news, all very nice. Okay, things are pumping. The narrative is good, but now you missed the move. Now, what do you do as a Degen? You've got FOMO, and myself included. I've missed all these AI agents. Very frustrating for me. Now this thing is running, so there's absolutely zero chance I'm going to be taking a long on anything that looks like this. And for me, the only thing I can see at the moment is potential reversal shorts when the time is right. So I want to highlight some areas for you guys. Remember, these things, after a pump, at some point, they run out of momentum, and then there's a little reversal. Okay, at one of these zones, this thing is going to run out of momentum, and there's going to be an opportunity for this thing to roll over a little bit. And typically, if you want to play the short game, you've got to be very precise with your hot zones and your big areas to the upside. Okay, so I've highlighted a couple here for you of interest, and the first one for me is, and I'm watching the 8 hour here on AIXBT, the first one is this 228 zone. Okay, this whole region over here for me, you can see we've got tons of horizontal. So what you could be watching out for is a little push into that zone, and then the momentum slows down, prints a lower high, a little bit of chop, and then they bring this thing back down. So this is short zone number one you can pay attention to. So anything from 225 up to, say, a fake out into about 244 is making sense to me. Then I've got a VWAP from the highs. I've got a 236. I've got a horizontal cluster here as well. Look at that VWAP up there. And we're looking at around about this 2.8 level for me on AIXBT. So 2.8 is another zone of interest here for me to the upside. Okay, so just be careful if you're trying to long here. These are big zones to the upside. You're literally taking proper gambles here if you're trying to long these AI agents with these green candles. So for me, all I'm seeing is short zones here. So this 2.8 makes sense to me, and then this region that I've just spoken to you guys about. So what you want to see is you can dial into lower time frames as well, and you want to start picking out your divergences. You want to look for bearish divergence at resistance zones. So you're going to pull out your oscillator that you're going to get in the accelerator course, and you're going to look for your divergences. Remember, I teach and I explain divergences very clearly in the accelerator course as well. And you can obviously learn about a ton of this stuff in Hackers, but just being in Chart Hackers, naturally, you will hear me talking about this stuff all the time. But in terms of what you look for, lower high on the oscillator, you want to see that, and you want to see that price just push one more high up to the upside, and then you can generally get something to start falling over, just using that simple strategy at big resistance zones. Okay, so play it safe. Those are the areas. And in terms of fresh trades, guys, I think if there is a reversal in the market, I'm not going to give you an entry zone now on AIXBT. It's going to be 20% from where it is now. So what we need to wait for is, for longs, we need to wait for the rejection, and then we'd give it a couple of days to play out, and then I'd drop some Degen long setups for you guys. So just let this thing finish doing what it's doing, and it's typical with all these AI agents now. I pretty much think all of them are actually ripping. So if you've missed them, just be careful, okay? Just play it safe. Another one that's been pumping today, guys, gaming narratives done really well, and we've got Beam here, which is basically an AVAX gaming play, and this thing is absolutely ripped. I think DJ Dave caught this today, or he caught it the last couple of days, but he got a 20% move out of this thing, and I'm pretty sure he dropped this one in Chart Hackers for the guys as well. So guys, there's obviously tons of traders in Chart Hackers there doing God's work for you in there, okay? And David's really pumping out some absolute bangers there as well. So BMX, I can't give you any fresh longs, but what I can tell you guys is we've got some potential reversals coming here for you guys, and you can see that oscillator has hit overbought. It's printed reversal signs, and now our next step, obviously, for the oscillator is to see a lower high on the oscillator and see if this thing slows down at a key resistance zone. So right now for me, there's no fresh longs on BMX. What your options are, potential flags here while we see this oscillator play out for any longs, and then you can play a breakout there at that 92 region on BMX. So 92 is a potential breakout area for you. Alternatively, if you are bearish, well, which is what I'm kind of looking at here after a pump like that, we're going to watch this whole area here. We can see the 100-day MA. We might get something like this playing out for us to the downside, tying in with some bearish divergence there. You can see we are getting close to something. One more pump, that should seal it for us. Alternatively, if there's a hard pump, you can see this is going to be my next big zone of interest. The 0.0101 is going to be my next reversal zone. And if you guys don't want to go and hunt a short on these areas, well, keep it super simple. Don't take longs until we've had a little bit of a reversal and these things have got a little bit exhausted and fallen over a bit. Then we can always bang out some fresh breakout longs and things like that for you guys. So just give it time. Don't FOMO now at what could be considered the top on some of these pumps. And Jose says Dave put it a couple of days ago. Yeah, Jose, I hope you got it, and I hope you guys are cooking. And then in terms of my stuff, also super volatile. At the moment, I've got near $182,000 long still on near. This thing went down to what, 12,000 yesterday. It's now back at 24,000 up. I've got Link long $144,000. It's now back at $24,000 up. I'm obviously holding, like I explained to you guys, my strategy on this was to open the head shorts, to ride them down as cover with a bullish bias. So what I was looking for was these alts to print higher lows, hold 382s, hold 618s, those types of things. And that was my bias bet that I was taking. And obviously now I'm holding near and Link, waiting for them to pop the next highs, and we can maybe press one more time and see if we can really accelerate the size of those positions. So, you know, Link's 180, Link's 140, near's 180. If we start breaking new levels and we're getting another move, we can maybe ramp this up to 250 each, something like that, and see if we can really get that Hail Mary going. Okay, so no changes yet for me on those two charts. Let's just look at them briefly. And in terms of Link, guys, look, a lesson again, simple TA. There's a 618 fib there. Look at that bounce off that region. 13.8, and Link is now effectively just back in this range. Okay, so we can't be too bullish, we can't be too bearish in this area here. We need to let things play out. But what I do know is if Link pops that area over here, if Link pops 15.2, that is going to be quite a nice area, guys, for support. That is going to be a nice area for the bulls to come and really start sending Link, and then we'll identify targets, but one of them is 17.4 for you guys that you want to be watching. So 15.2, let's break that well with Link. If we break 15.2 well on Link, I think Link is going to get it's going to get a little bit of momentum there, and it's going to start moving. So holding on for that, waiting for the big move. And then for me, look, if we start going below that type of zone, okay, it's not the best look for me. You're sitting in a massive position. I might start trimming it if we really start bleeding lower down into those levels. Okay, so we've had that hard test. I want to call this the low now. I don't want to now go hunting again down here for Link. Okay, I want to see this area hold in extreme moves to the downside. Okay, and just to confirm, that area is 13.8. Okay, that's your main support. Then near. Okay, near is an interesting one because near tends to respond well on AI news as well. It's almost considered an AI layer one. And we've seen there's partnerships in the past with Nvidia as well and near. And you can see this thing has responded relatively well today. I must say it was a bit of squeaky bum time for me when near went under that 50-day moving average yesterday. It wasn't ideal, but we can see it's now reclaimed this 50-day MA, and that's nice and positive for me. So for me on near, if we start closing under this 50-day MA, we've already got our low marker. So I'm not going to try and stick around too much longer. That 2.45 is probably where I'm going to start cutting this near position. So we've got our ping on that 50, and on near we've got our ping on the 382. I don't want to go back there. Okay, I don't want to go back into that zone. We're looking now for this thing. It must now kick on. So in terms of near, nice response on the Nvidia news. Always good to see it moving with stuff like that. And we do have a trend break. Okay, so there could be a little bit of a degen play here for us at the moment. And remember, our upside targets, we're not going to get too aggressive here. 2.72 and about 2.9, those types of regions for me on near, and I'll pretty much be done. Okay, that trade, I'll pretty much close it at around 2.9 if we do push up into that region. And then in terms of a degen play, let me guys just give you a little degen setup in case there is a little bit more momentum here. Let's close that. And let's go down into a much lower time frame. I just want to give you guys some hot zones on the degen side of things. Okay, and that 50-day is going to be crucial now for the bulls. Okay, you can see it's sitting right there. Look at that bang bang on that 618. Okay, so that is super, super critical here for me on NEAR. If we lose this 2.45, guys, yeah, it's going to get ugly. And then you potentially go much deeper and much darker. Right now, you can see possible flag here at the moment. So anyone looking for NEAR, 2.5 is your first line of bull support, 2.5. And then at your extreme, you're going to be feeling a bit bearish, but 2.45 is going to be your next one. So 2.5 and 2.45, folks, that's probably the best bull zone there I can give you on NEAR. And then you've got those upside targets. Okay, guys, that's a wrap from me. I've got a session with Degen, Dave, and Panda at a restaurant. We're going to be eating some steak and doing some things, okay? And we're going to be talking about chart hackers and make sure that we're giving you guys the absolute best stuff. And sorry, James couldn't be there, but we'll get you there. We'll get you there next time. Thank you for hanging, sir. Guys, okay, so I should be back tomorrow. I'll drop on Twitter if I'm not doing a show, but I'm pretty certain I'll be able to do a show tomorrow for you guys, an update where we are. Good luck with everything. Okay, nice Bitcoin break. That's a good start. If we lose that break and the bulls don't step in, the bets are off. Okay, these alts are going to get wrecked. And so just make sure you are running your stops nicely. You are managing your risk, guys. Okay, catch you later.